good afternoon here in Germany. So my name is Blanca Suarez. I work at TEMAS, which is a consultancy company based in Zurich, in Switzerland. And what we are doing now is to support instruments devoted to the development of safer nanomaterials and nano-enabled products. And you can see here the title of my slides. We will go through the Safe by Design concept in this presentation and the relevance across sectors. So if I can have the next slide, please. Yes, so first of all, my Safe by Design concept explanation will be based on the NanoRec project. And then we have also carried out some interviews with industry, and I would like to share the results of those interviews with you. So if we can go next, please. Yeah, so we start here with the definition of Safe by Design according to NanoRec project. And in there, the Safe by Design is seen as a concept to develop, to support industries, research labs, and regulators in development projects. And these projects must contain nanomaterials or nano-inspired products. So the particulars of Safe by Design are that they take into account the whole value chain of a given product, and it's also regulatory based. So as you can see, this is not only a risk assessment, but it's also a regulatory assessment vital part of the
Blanca, we're losing you a little bit. I don't know if the rest of the audience can hear you.
Safe by Design. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Can I have the next?
Just had some gaps in the speech, but hopefully it's nothing serious. So please carry on, Blanca.
Okay, can you go next? Yeah. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes. So, Safe by Risk. So, I will give you some history behind Safe by Design. How did it come along? Well, basically, it is widely known that nanomaterials may not behave in the same way as their bulk counterparts. Also, there is a lack of technologies to properly assess nanomaterials, both from a toxicology and physicochemical point of view. And finally, there is a whole set of uncertainties regarding environment, health, and safety issues as far as nanomaterials are concerned. So if I can have the next, please. Next. Yes. So in this context, the NanoRec project came along, starting in 2013 and finishing early this year. NanoRec aimed to produce a list of tools and instruments to assist regulators when encountering nanomaterials-enabled products. So the ProSafe project follow, and within ProSafe, we try to get regulators involved so that policymakers could take and implement those tools developed under the NanoReg scheme. So it was a matter of implementing it with the regulators. And finally, the NanoReg 2 project, which is running now, and here we are actually working towards the implementation of Safe by Design in industrial settings. So Safe by Design stops being a theoretical approach and can turn into a main pillar in any process or product containing a nanomaterial. So can I have next, please? Next. Okay,
Yeah.
so as you can appreciate, Safe by Design is composed of two words. And this is why I said earlier that Safe by Design is not only risk assessment. Now, on the safe side of Safe by Design, we have regulations, we have self-regulations, we have life cycle assessment. But we should also not forget that Safe by Design has a design part to it. And this part should take into account the functionalities of different materials. Databases, which contain information and also some cost analysis tools, which will help us to decide which is the safer material which could be used at a reasonable cost. So if I have the next, please. Next. Yeah, go next and next, please. Yeah, Yeah, so you see how Safe by Design is actually balancing safety and cost. So one needs to assess for the safer nanomaterial that is functional enough for a given purpose at a reasonable cost. So next one. So there is still room for benefits as well at the end of the exercise. So can I have the next? Yes. Safe by Design, this is just a sum up. Safe by Design is based on requirements of law-based and soft-based regulations. It's also independent from a final licensing process. It could be used either way. If you are licensing your product or if you are not licensing your product, it should be easily implemented and it should be compatible to existing innovation models. Can I have the next, please? Sorry, I don't know what that was. So Safe by Design.
No idea.
It's just it's too boring. So you need some music at the background. So the main concepts, the main core concepts of the Safe by Design is basically the inventory, which actually contains a list of procedures and protocols, databases where you can get your information from. Then it's also a safety dossier, which will contain all relevant information required at the different phases of a given project. That is to say, if we are early in the development of a project, the requested information will be less than if we are at later stages of a project where the requested information will be close to that required by the corresponding regulation. So if we go next and next to next. Yes, so at the end of the day, we produce a safety profile, which represents the collection of all safety information per phase. Now next and next. Please, next. Yes, so the Safe by Design comes along also with two trainings, one training on the concept and the other training on the implementation platform. So if you are interested, get in touch with us. You get these two trainings into flavors, one for the concept itself, and then the second one on the implementation is how to actually implement Safe by Design in your process. So now, if we move into the next one, I will discuss with you the results of the interviews that we held with industry. These interviews also help us to fine-tune the Safe by Design implementation platform. So basically, the aims of the interviews were threefold. On one hand, we tried to identify potential barriers which hamper the implementation of Safe by Design. Then to produce an overview of such barriers, and finally to propose ways to circumvent such barriers. So if you go to next, please. Yes, so this is the strategy we had. We collected feedbacks after performing both trainings, both with the concept and the platform. We also spoke to government organizations interested in preparing themselves for new innovations. We also worked hand in hand with the NanoRec 2 case studies and collected their feedback too. And we also carried out interviews, face-to-face interviews with Swiss companies. So if we go next, please. Next, so here you have, well, the companies one back, sorry, I went too fast on next. Okay, so we have companies which were either Swiss companies or their headquarters were located in Switzerland. And you can see on the slide the different sectors we cover: cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, medical implants, dental textiles, dyes, food packaging, and the insurance sector. So if we go next, please. Our interviews were based on 3 blocks. Now, the first block was just to have some information on the companies. Questions were regarding the field of activity, number of employees, materials they were producing, if they were pristine, semi-finished or finished materials, if they have a R&D department, etc. Now, the second block dealt with the particular needs of the companies. For example, do usually customers come back to them regarding safety questions? Do they use databases for R&D? Do you have regulations available? If not, do they use precautionary measurements? And finally, we have a final block of questions, which was all to do with their expectations on Safe by Design. Is that to find out more about regulations, to identify risk and hazard potentials, to identify uncertainties? So if we go next. So yeah, here I highlighted these the main questions we had. Or those questions we had many answers. So for these first questions regarding if customers go back to them asking for safety issues, usually companies interview companies rely on the suppliers and they believe the suppliers have performed or the safety assessment and the material should be as safe in the pristine form as it is now when it is embedded in a final product. So they really rely on the suppliers. Next, please. Next, yes. So asking the question on databases, actually the highest results here were the dye companies, insurance sector, and dental sectors. They usually rely on databases, whereas other sectors probably use more conventional materials. So we believe these dye and dental sectors are probably be more innovative. They are searching new materials, and that's why they are using databases. Now, when asked about what kind of risk evaluation methods they use, they usually say they don't really use so many. They don't perform much risk because they believe the standard procedures they are using are fine, are in place, and they trust on these procedures, with the only exception of the insurance sector. If we go next, please. Yes. Again, when asked about the early detection of uncertainties and risk, the highest rank of interest came from the dental, insurance, and cosmetic sectors. Here, we believe that the opinion of customer organizations plays an important role. Customers of these sectors easily flip from one company to competitors, so they really have to be aware of risk as early as possible. Next, please. Yes. Oh, there's a mistake. Okay. So when asked about the project management tools, yeah, of course, they all have different management programs adapted to their needs. So next, please. So expectations of safe by design, then they had low expectations, probably because these companies are using materials which are already in the market. So they seldom develop new materials. Next, please. Yeah, again, this question regarding the importance of safety profiles per phase related to the previous one, since they are not really developing new materials, they really are not concerned with safety profiles, though sometimes companies from the secondary economic sector do really have a need of safety profiles, but they have to be highly customized. They don't need general safety profiles. Yeah, documentation. Please, next, please. Yeah, but here we found a high interest in the Safe by Design trainings, and they were really keen to find out more. And some of them actually asked for a pilot installation in the premises. So if we go next, please. Well, we can jump over this because I have already summarized this one in the answers. So can we have next? Yes. So in general, we also found some more barriers. One first barrier was that Safe by Design as a concept was seen as very complex. And this is why we have elaborated now a web application. So people can actually log in and do it on their computers. The other barrier we found was also that regulation usually is applied at the end of the developmental process. So at the beginning of development process or product, there is not much regulation there. And here in the web application tool platform, we have included some go, no-go criteria to help industries decide if their product is safe enough at earlier stages of development. And finally, whereas we are all bothered with safety, for industries, more often SMEs, they are more worried about functionalities, and safety is seen as a burden. So we have also included in our web application other important points for them, such as self-regulation, the cost analysis exercises, etc., to also help them on the functionality issues. So if we go next, very next one. Yes, so overall, yes, we find a common complaint. There is a lack of resources in the companies, particularly the SMEs. they also lack the knowledge to understand all the different protocols, procedures, regulation, and also there is a lack of trust, and they are not so keen to share their data unless they really believe. I mean, there are a lot of competitors out there, and sharing data with others it was not an issue for them. And with this slide, the next one, I would like to thank you for your attention. Sorry if there were some problems. I hope you got the main message of